dance for joy or lust or anger, and every time.
Welcome to Not Very Sensible Secondhand Reviews, the series where we should be looking at practical and sensible cars which you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000, but sometimes the cars don't tend to be very practical at all. Case in point, this is a 2011 Renault Wind 1.6 GT, and it's a car that I don't really know who it was aimed at all. So the Renault Wind had a very, very short model lifespan in this country. It was only imported from 2010 to 2012. In February 2012, Renault UK decided to stop importing the Kangoo, the Modus, the Laguna, all versions of the Laguna, the Wind, and one of the models I can't remember at the moment. This is based on the same platform as the Mark II Renault Twingo, and I have driven one of those on the channel. That was a very early Mark II Twingo in 2007, and in some ways it does feel kind of similar like that to drive. It's this kind of very small and actually very immediate feeling little car. The French have been very good at making little cars like this for a long time, and you know, it does feel nice with the steering. I think it's probably electric setup, but it actually does have a little bit of feel to it. In these country roads in Berkshire, it does actually feel nice and compact, and suspension's actually quite compliant as well, which does sort of help. The engines available in one of these were a 1.2 turbo, known as the D4FT, with 99 horsepower, and then this 1.6 that was the same engine as in the Renault Sport Twingo with 133 horsepower. Certainly this engine's got plenty of torque. It's actually very quiet as well. The car looks like it's perhaps from the outside rear-engined or mid-engined, but it's not. It's front-engine and front-wheel drive because it's based on the same underpinnings as the Twingo. And actually, it's very pleasant. I mean, the visibility is appalling. But the issue that I've got actually is that I've had to put the trade plates in sort of unusual places because, well, you need to display a trade plate when you're actually driving a car, and you know, you're at a dealership, and this car's been kindly supplied by Leaf LSB Car Sales near Thatcham. But if you display a trade plate in a Renault Wind, then the only place to put it is actually in the tiny little rear screen, and that means I can't see anything out the back using the mirror, which is absolutely hilarious. It's all about compliance. So viewers, this car is still awaiting a bit of preparation. The wheels are, I think, going to stay as they are. This is a problem with these cars with diamond cut wheels as they get older. This car, well over 10 years old, it's just going to be about a £400 job to do the wheels, and I think really it would just increase the price of the car too much to actually do them, given this car's only worth around £2,500, something like that. I think the styling of it though is amazing. Yes, it might just need a bit of final preparation before it's actually sold, but I can't believe a little thing like this isn't worth any more money, even though this is a relatively high mileage example at 110, and You know, it's all winds are now over 10 years old. One of the things that you might think is going to be a bit of a problem is we've got the roof down. Is there actually going to be any boot space? Well, yes, there is. Now this is really heavy, this sort of boot cover, but look at all this space. Look at this. Not the best light perhaps to sort of show you, but the boot is the same whether you have the roof up or you have the roof down. It is exactly the same. So we'll lift up this cover here, and you can see we've actually got a space saver spare wheel in here as well. So strut braces at the back there, probably give a bit more torsional rigidity to the car. Boot's actually a lot bigger than the one I think on the Twingo would be. It's a pretty different shape, and the lip is quite high, and it's not the biggest opening, but that's quite an impressive engineering solution to an age-old problem of these kind of cars with metal folding roofs and what you actually do with the luggage space. Only 2 seats, and this actually reminds me of an old Renault 5, this little catch here, the one from the sort of 70s, and I think the 3-door Super Sanks actually also had these, and I've driven one of those on my channel a long time ago. So it's actually not the same interior as a Mark II Twingo. It's a little bit different, but you can spot things like the radio are exactly the same. This model has actually got things like climate control. Good old Renault radio controls on the steering wheel, which sort of date back to the 1980s. Radio's actually kind of almost vertical, which is really quite a good thing. Down here is the cruise control activation switch, which is very common on the sort of Renaults of the early 2010s. But we've got the air conditioning controls on here. I'll put the key in a second. It's actually a normal key on this car, as opposed to one of these funny credit card things, which some of you will appreciate, I think. Try and get a hazard light switch. Very, very small glove box, which is ridiculous. I can't get my suspension box in there at all. You can see the manual and the book pack are actually in the door because you can't fit them in there, because Renault decided, like a lot of French manufacturers around this time, that it wasn't worth switching the fuse box from left to right hand drive. So we have that pathetic excuse for a glove box, but never mind. Actually, it looks reasonably sporty. It's just hard plastic in here, hard plastic on the doors and things like that, but it seems quite hard wearing. I like this leather steering wheel, and these are the controls of the cruise control and thth like that. The roof is controlled by this switch here, and it's actually really easy to operate the roof in this car. It's incredibly easy. I'll put that in an insert a little bit later, and we'll just see how it goes. Seats are pretty good, normal handbrake, standard 5-speed manual gearbox, relatively large door bins for a sporty car like this. Actually, there's a fair amount of room. The seat's quite comfortable. It goes back quite a long way. Right, let's just put this key in and have a look at some more of the dash control, shall we? So, Renault logo there, just turning on. See the climate control screen down here. Auto lights deactivated. Auto lights in this car. Nice upper trim specification. Got quite a lot of fuel in this as well. Whoever gave this to Lee to sell was a generous person, clearly. Lots and lots of airbags, which is good. Renault at this stage was called MSRP for reasons I don't really understand. Nobody else seemed to. I think those are off a sort of Clio or something, the interior door handles. So I think we might be able to operate the roof with the engine just like this. We'll see if that works. Put my foot on the brake. There we go. There's roof closing. You can hear something, and here we go. Roof has come down. Just got to keep holding the switch a little bit longer for it to finish. And we just lock it like this. Right, let's try the reverse. So unlock it with that, and then press the button down here. Roof opening. There we go. complex old mechanism that, but yeah, fantastic. Really easy, really quick. See why somebody, you know, you don't have to get out of a car or anything. You've only got to do one manual operation, which is just up there. You can see why somebody actually would consider this maybe a bit handier than like an MX-5. It's got a bigger boot, the roof's a lot easier to use, you don't have to get out to do it. Wonderful. Right, let's have a look under the bonnet, shall we? So here we are, the good old Renault K-type engine. This case generating about 133 horsepower. The K-type engine was around for a very, very long time, from I think the sort of early to mid 1990s. And it was used actually in the Mark 1 Dacia Duster that was sold in this country as well, from about 2013. So it's a pretty proven unit. It does have a timing belt, and as you can see, this one's actually been replaced quite recently, which is good at 104,000 miles. It is quite tightly packed in here. The idea of trying to do this cam belt, that would sort of terrify me, I think. But overall, the Twingo that it's based on isn't actually that much more, perhaps, you know, easy to work on than this is in some ways. But yeah, I think it looks good as well. Right, so good. In fact, I'm going to go for another drive. Lloyd Consulting stickers, t-shirts, and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. I forgot to say, viewers, I do hope you can actually hear me properly. I don't know if you actually can really at all. I'm just sort of making this up as I go along, and I've just realised I need a haircut because my hair is blowing about all over the place. But this is undoubtedly the way to drive one of these little Renault Winds. The roof has to be one of the fastest that I've ever actually used in any car, and it does have this wonderful feeling of sort of open top motoring. I kind of understand why, if somebody had one of these, this car's done well over 100,000 miles. It's not in cosmetically the best condition maybe wheels could do with the refurb and things like that, but this car's only worth something like £2,500, and as long as you kind of get on top of the maintenance, something like this, and it actually feels, for a car that's done the mileage it has, it feels really tight. The suspension feels tight, the steering feels tight, the engine feels nice and tractable, the gearbox is quite good, nice little 5-speed manual. Yeah, even the engine sounds, it sounds quite good. I quite enjoy this. I don't really know what this car is supposed to rival. I mean, suppose you could buy, I don't know, a cheap NCMX5 or something like that, and I have driven one of those, but it's not really the same type of car at all. I don't think it's aimed at the same sort of person who'd have an MX5. It's really quite fantastic, even though it's maybe too bizarre a thing to have had really a market in the first place. As I said right at the beginning, I really don't know why Renault actually ever sold this at all, but I'm really glad that they did. So viewers, the Renault Wind, named after a gaseous emission, or swift as the wind. Well, I'm not really sure what to say about this car in some ways. They were very, very rare. Really not many kind of made for our market at all. And I think they only discontinued this in 2013, so it didn't really last very long on the worldwide market either. So if we look at some of the trim levels that these cars came with, I can actually look at the page here. Dynamique S, GT line, which this one is. I might say GT earlier on, it's actually a GT line. The Collection, the Gordini. Gordinis used to get you more power in some of the older Renaults. This one, I don't know. I'm not sure it does, but there we go. Renault Sport actually developed the chassis. I said earlier on that several models were discontinued in February 2012 at Renault UK. The one I'm missing was the Espace. I couldn't quite remember that. But yes, as long as the cam belt's been done, as long as it's being looked after, I don't think these cars are particularly prone to rust or anything like that. Then it's sort of good fun open air motoring with one of the quickest roofs in the world. Anyway, thank you ever so much once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more literally wind in the hair motoring.